What is going on, everyone? Happy Monday morning. Welcome back to the Actually Good Coffee podcast. I'm recording this in my car without the air conditioning on because that would lower the audio quality, and also because we are roasting inside and there's not enough space to record in there. This is the show where we talk about all things coffee related, such as almost why half of Gen Z is too afraid to order a cup of coffee. That is not a joke. 47% of Gen Z won't even step foot into a coffee shop to order their daily brew. Instead, they're choosing to utilize delivery apps and online ordering to get their daily fix of caffeine. Apparently, this is due to the generation's high levels of reported anxiety. 7% of those who reported in this recent study even acknowledged their newfound condition called Baristaphobia, or being too afraid to even talk to a barista. So, is this the time to swap those scary tattoos and piercings for a friendly hello and a copy of Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends That Influence People? Let's find out. One well-spoken ex-user wrote, "Sometimes I got plans like I could conquer the world, and sometimes I scared to order a coffee." Another user posted, "Ordering at an in-person Dunkin' Donuts or Starbucks that don't have drive-thrus are so triggering. I don't know why. I literally would rather drive farther to go through a drive-thru. Ordering is so anxiety-provoking. I don't know why." If you think it stops there, then you'd be wrong. 2 out of 5 Gen Zers stated making a cup of joe for somebody else fills them with a sense of dread, and they fear the social consequences of making a bad cup. A Philips survey found. Lizzie Lee, Philips in-house coffee expert, states, "Gen Z wants great coffee without the pressure. Whether it's avoiding awkward cafe encounters or sticking to a tighter budget, brewing at home gives them full control, taste, cost, and convenience." Philips says their super automatic espresso machines can help Gen Z craft barista quality coffee from the comfort of their home. Is this entire article just a giant Philips ad? Now, I'm sure most of you are thinking to yourself, the younger generation doesn't know how to work hard, or they don't have the same get up and go mentality that you had growing up. But I think the reality is that a lot of these jobs are held at larger chain coffee shops where workers feel lost, or like they're just a cog in the machine being used to crank out as many frappuccinos as possible. And the reality is, there is this mentality that many baristas have where customers are somehow a nuisance to them when they come in to order a drink at their cafe. I was actually in Philadelphia with a wholesale partner of ours this past week, and we stopped by maybe 6 cafes, and probably about 50% of them were extremely unwelcoming. Keep in mind, we're tipping very heavily and staying there for about 15 minutes on average. I'm not sure how this attitude started, but I definitely don't have any interest in coming back to those shops anytime soon. While I was reading this article, I was actually reminded of a networking event that I go to every single year. It's a Mazers food and beverage event where there's this panel at the end and a discussion on major food and beverage trends within the past year. I'm actually not sure how I even got into this event because everyone that I talked to is making, so for example, I met like an accountant there and he's like, "Oh, what do you do?" I was like, "Oh, I'm in coffee, we do this amount." And he's like, "Oh, we do 30 million. And I was like, "Oh, okay." He's like, "How did you get in here?" And I was like, "I actually am not sure." A couple years ago, the topic was about Gen Z's involvement in what they consume and how they are much more educated on what they eat and drink than previous generations. One of the speakers was a guy who created and sold veggie straws, the snack. He sold it for 9 figures, so somewhere between 1 to 200 million. And his main point was that he is shocked with how informed his teenagers are when it comes to their health. And I think this involvement is also associated with where they work and what kind of role that plays within their company. Meanwhile, older generations are reminiscing on the days of the Marlboro Man commercials and how cool smoking a cigarette looked, completely disregarding the fact that they were lied to about the health effects of smoking carcinogens. Big business had a much friendlier atmosphere 40 to 60 years ago. You'd have the commercial jingle stuck in your head or the billboards on your way to work, which would make you more likely to buy their product if you saw it on the shelves. Gen Z has seen the effect burnout has had on their parents and the misrepresentation of product, community, and quote-unquote bright future their companies have led them to believe. Many organizations still don't know how to speak Gen Z's language. On one hand, it's pretty obvious to assume that automated coffee machines and drive-thrus will become much more popular over this next decade. I don't think anybody will argue with that. But I think that this will actually open up a fairly large market for an atmosphere with a more welcoming human setting. So if you want to create a friendlier atmosphere for your customers and maybe rid a few of their barista phobias, you have to start with your employees. In order to do that, you need to provide a clear training program and understanding of how their work impacts the company and its customers. If you own a food and beverage business, you can start by creating standard operating procedures, having a clear clear mission statement for your business and showing your employees a clear path of progression within your company. Train your managers on how to train new employees, and make sure you let them know in the interviewing process that it's not just about showing up to the job. Even if this makes it harder to find employees, this will help you find all-star players. Just start with making sure that they remember a customer's name. You've probably heard this 100 times before, but make sure your baristas remember every single customer's name. Turn it into a game if you have to. Even if it's been 3 months since the customer has last come in, regulars are everything in this business. I think some of these ideas can also apply to other businesses as well, but I can only speak for myself on this one. And all you can do is try it and see for yourself. If I'm wrong, let me know by DMing us on the Made in Coffee Instagram. I'm always happy to continue the conversations there. So thank you all for listening. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode. If you did, you can help support it by checking out our newest tin can single origin coffees at madeincoffee.com. Almost 10 times more recyclable than plastic or compostable packaging. We've worked really hard on this product for about a year now, but if you don't have any money to spend, you can just leave us a review. I don't do any sort of advertising on the show besides for our own business, so these are just some ways you can help keep this podcast going. So thank you again, and I will talk to you all very soon.